Afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hello, y'all. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right podcast. It is that time again for us to talk. So pull up a chair, pull up a pillow, pull up a friend. It's episode 230 of You're Probably Right podcast. I am MCM. Title is, What If That Is Love? You know, so many people say they're looking for love. So many people want to be in a wonderful, lifelong, torrid love affair with a significant other. This might end up being one of those longer episodes, y'all, so get comfortable or just come back. Remember, this episode is for entertainment purposes only. I'm just a guy, just your friend. I'm just talking, telling you what I think about a lot of different things. That's where we're at. Sorry about that, y'all. I had to pause everything. Biggest bug you ever want to see comes flying in my face. Probably because I'm in the dark and the the screen on this thing is so bright that it's like looking for a place to hang out. Got myself some coffee here. Shouldn't really be drinking coffee. I realize it upsets my stomach a little bit. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Listen, people say you'll know when you're in love. That's what people say. One thing I can tell you is I've seen what it looks like at the end of life. I've seen the end of life care. And it may not necessarily come from who you think it would come from or it should come from. And sadly for many of us, the end of life care is no care at all, or there's just no time for it because it's sudden. The hope is that when your time comes, that you've loved enough. And I'm not saying it in a way to say, to get you in anywhere. Because most people do things so good things can happen to them. Even now or after their life on earth is over. Depending on what you believe, many people are doing all kinds of things to say that they are loving others, that they are doing good to others. As you know, this isn't a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by a Christian. But largely, most of the stuff I talk about are just things I've seen in life, heard, learned, and I'm sure some of it needs to be unlearned, as they say, and forgotten, and thrown in the garbage. And then some things I think I've learned I need to grasp on a little bit more, too. Anyhow, I can't say that you're gonna really know when you're in love, but you should know one thing in regards to that, and that is whether you're loving others, whether you're giving of yourself openly and freely, not expecting back. And people say, you can't love others if you don't love yourself. I don't know if that's true, because I believe it's selfless. And if you're trying to preserve you, yourself, your dignity, your self-esteem, your care before others, more than others, then what do you call that? You know, the Bible does say, greater love has no one than he or a person who lays down their life for a friend. So, if that is the greatest love, and as we know Jesus did this for us, then he wasn't looking to care for himself when he was dying on the cross, when he was whipped with 39 or 40 lashes, with a cat of nine tails or whatever they beat him with, plucked out his beard, stabbed him through the chest with a spear, hung him on that cross, drove the nails through his hands and his feet. He wasn't doing any self-care there. This is the greatest love of anyone. Now, am I saying that you're supposed to be like a beating stick, as they say, or a punching bag, or a carpet for someone to walk over and wipe their feet on all the time? So much so that you can't do the things that you need to do in life and you're just being abused? I'm not saying it like that. But the willingness to go without, to be hurt for another person because that's how much you care for them. So that's the esteem that you have for them. And it did say, greater love hath no man than he that lay down a life for his friend. I think as a man, that is one of our possible duties that many would like to say goes back and forth between men and women. But I think some of these things, there's no gray area. But that's just me, right? Anyhow, let me get to it. I hope you're not racing, because I'm not racing. Okay, listen. People say you'll know when you're in love, that it'll hit you like a truck, like a movie montage with music swelling and butterflies swarming and your heart racing whenever they enter the room. But what if love doesn't always feel like that? What if it doesn't hit you? It builds. Isn't that better? What if it doesn't explode? It endures. What if love is just giving and giving and caring and covering and protecting and putting you first and protecting? What if the love you're looking for is already there, just not packaged in the fireworks you were expecting? What if the spark that you were expecting isn't there because there's no roller coaster? There's no high peaks and low valleys. Maybe there's not that to the moon excitement or argument that makes you feel like you're in hell and then back up again? What if there's no passionate makeup sex? Too many people walk away from good relationships because they think they're supposed to feel more excitement, more fire, more hunger. And when it doesn't come every day, they start to think something's wrong. When they're not arguing enough, they think it lacks passion, and I need to have passion in my life. Maybe it's not like the most savory food you ever tasted. But what if it still fills you? Maybe you say to yourself, well, that's not what I want. I want that excitement. I want to be filled also. I want the cake. And you know what I want to do with it too. But let me ask you something. If someone is waking up beside you every day, washing the dishes, buying groceries, paying bills, sacrificing their most valuable thing called time, and spending it on you, defending your name, taking your name, what exactly are you waiting for? Love doesn't always dance. Sometimes it just shows up. The myth of the spark. We've been taught to chase the spark, the butterflies. You know, Michael Jackson, you give me butterflies. The late night talks that make you forget the time. Remember when you were younger? Or maybe now. The kind of chemistry that makes your palms sweat and your thoughts scatter. That's all you can think about, even in your daily job or wherever you are during the day. But that kind of love is a high. It's a hit. And just like any high, it fades. Real love, it's what happens after the butterflies settle. And sometimes we walk right into it from the beginning, not realizing that someone comes into our life already settled, already centered, already healed, and all that you're going to experience is, if you let go and allow it to build month after month, year after year, maybe decade after decade. It's what keeps you going when the novelty wears off. Maybe when the sex stops. Maybe when the kids move out. Maybe you don't get kids and it's just you two. when they leave the toothpaste cap off, or snore, or say something that makes you roll your eyes, but you still choose to stay, still choose to care, still choose to do. Think about it. The butterflies didn't clean the toilet. The butterflies didn't shovel the snow. The spark didn't sit through a boring family dinner and get cussed out by a mother-in-law or a sister or an uncle, or given dirty looks from a cousin. Or disrespected by a brother. Because it meant something to you. Those things don't feel romantic, but they are. Love doesn't need to be loud to be real. It doesn't have to be spicy. Sometimes it's silent and solid. And sometimes the absence of the spark is not the absence of love. It's the presence of peace. Knowing they'll be there, come hell or high water. Or when everything is calm and peace is still. What love actually looks like. Love might look like folding laundry while your partner's sleeping in or already fallen asleep. Like buying groceries they forgot to pick up. Not on purpose. Like checking their tire pressure. Like ironing their clothes. Like taking their mom to an appointment. Like picking up after them. Love might sound like, I'll do it, or I'll do it, or I'll do it. It might feel like a forehead kiss after a fight, or holding their hand in public even when you're still mad. It might be biting your tongue when you want to be right, or being brave enough to say something when staying silent would be so much easier. And love is definitely taking care of someone on their worst day, not just being there for their best. It's sewing their favorite sweater when it rips, or replacing it, or wearing it when they're out of town, just to get the smell of them. Sitting in the hospital waiting room, saving the last piece of cake. Love is in the moments nobody posts on social media. So maybe love isn't what you thought it was. Maybe it never was. Why some people still don't feel it? There are people out there doing everything for their partners. Paying bills, making sacrifices, attending church with them, staying faithful, being there, showing up day after day, and still wondering, do I really love them? Why? Because we've been taught that love should be emotional, not practical. That love is a feeling, love is felt, not measured. But here's the truth. Love can feel like boredom when you're used to chaos and madness and arguments and fights, shouting matches. Love can feel like silence when you're used to screaming. Love can feel like underwhelmingly normal, calm, maybe not normal, but calm. When your idea of romance has been hijacked by movies, music, and books, and articles, and Instagram, TikToks, and shorts, and reels, and clips. Sometimes love feels like nothing because it's just calm. It's not competing. It's not fighting. It's not one-upmanship. It's not who has more hand, who's wearing the pants, who's right, who's the boss. And it doesn't mean you don't love the person. It just means you're not chasing drama. You're building peace. That's a mature kind of love. The kind people only realize they had when it's gone. The endless list of acts that say I love you. Let's list them a little bit. Just for jokes, right? Love is vacuuming the rug. Love is fixing the dishwasher. Love is buying new bed sheets without being asked. Love is driving out in the snow to pick them up. Love is arguing with your own parents to defend them. Love is staying faithful when the options are everywhere and anywhere. Love is walking the dog, taking out the garbage, wiping down the counters, even doing windows. Love is carrying a mental list of their food allergies. Love is keeping their secrets. Love is rubbing their back during a panic attack or just because. Love is standing outside while they cry in the shower. Love is getting your nails done together. Love is canceling plans because they need you home. Love is turning the car around mid-errand to bring them the lunch they forgot. Love is a million little things, and most of them don't come with music. Love is showing up even when it's hard. Love shows up when you're tired, when you're sick, when you're disappointed, when you feel taken for granted. Love shows up when your ego tells you to run, but your heart says, stay. Some of you listen, some of you don't. But I need you to listen to this. Rashawn, some of you listening are doing all these things and wondering why it doesn't feel magical. But you're in love. You just don't know love could be this quiet, this consistent, this real, this honest. Don't confuse emotional numbness with absence of love. You might just be emotionally exhausted, or healing, or mentally overstimulated. Love isn't always a feeling. It's a pattern, a posture, a way of being. And if they're doing those things for you, pause and reflect. You might be more loved than you realized. A love that wasn't flashy. Story time. Let me tell you about a couple I knew. Not flashy, not romantic in the Hallmark way. He didn't write poetry. She didn't do candlelight dinners. But he made her coffee every morning. She folded his laundry without asking. They never said I love you 10 times a day. But they never went to bed angry either. He drove her to every doctor's appointment for 2 years. She packed his lunch until the day he retired. He painted her toenails when she broke her wrist. She read to him when his vision started to go. They never took trips. They never showed off on social media, but they laughed. They shared a blanket on the couch. They made a life. When he died, she said, I never had to wonder if I was loved. He showed me every day. We spend so much time chasing sparks that we forget how to build fire. We confuse butterflies with bond. But bond is better. It lasts. Maybe love isn't loud. Maybe it doesn't knock on the door or kick it down. Maybe it moves in quietly, fixes things, stays late, leaves a light on, clears a walkway, clears a path, digs up a garden. So the next time you are wondering, or you wonder whether you're in love, don't check your pulse. Check your patterns. Look at what they do. Look at what you do. And ask yourself, if this isn't love, what is? Because you're probably right. You just didn't know it. Anyhow, y'all. This was episode 230. Thanks for showing up. Listen, guys, there's many things that beyond all the stuff that I've already mentioned that I just wanted to add to the end of this, because I just want it to be as full as possible. And maybe you've heard about it, heard about all you can take from me, which is about a half an hour of me going on about stuff you probably didn't even think of, or maybe little bits and pieces of things you think of sometimes. But with men, love is a protective instinct. He watches out for her safety, well-being, even in small ways, like walking on the outside of the sidewalk or just checking in on her. Acts of service. He does things like making her life easier without being asked, fixing things, running errands. Consistent presence. He always shows up. He's always around. Listening intently, even when he's tired. Sharing food or the last bite. Physical touch, not just sexual. Introducing her proudly. Making time. Remembering details. Or asking when he can't remember and not trying to wing it and get it totally wrong. Living his truth. And what is that? People always say that, right? Just being honest about where he is and how he feels. Defending her. Being emotionally available. Planning for the future and talking about it. Making we statements so she knows she's included. Supporting her goals. Respecting her boundaries. Trying to make surprise gestures. Picking up that thing that you looked at that you didn't know he was paying attention to and have no idea how he found. Involving her in decisions, great and small. Loyalty. Sharing his world. Helping her when she's sick or tired. Or just simply saying, I love you. With women, and I know I'm generalizing, but nurturing care She makes sure he's fed, rested, cared for. Maybe she just creams his back because she knows it gets dry. And she knows that there's no one else who could do it or that he would allow to do it for him. And most of the time he wouldn't even ask her, but she just does it anyway. Thoughtful gifts. Not always expensive, but meaningful because she remembers what he likes and tries to surprise him with it, even when he complains and says, I didn't need this thing, or why did you get it? But then she notices that he always uses it. And maybe she notices that little smile, a little smirk on his face, that little satisfying grin, even if he doesn't say it. Affectionate touch, holding hands, cuddling, random back rubs. Physical affection is a regular thing and not something begged for. Acts of service, doing small things to make his life smoother. Emotional support. She encourages him when he's down and when he feels like the world is sitting on his head. She supports him. Creating comfort. She makes her presence feel like home, even if they're not at home. Being loyal and protective. She defends him in conversations, even to those friends that she's known a lot longer than him. Not blindly, not in a way that any normal person would see that there's something wrong there. No, not that way. Just she defends him because she knows he is doing his best, even if it doesn't look like that to the outside world. Listening and remembering. She pays attention to what he says, even things he doesn't necessarily say directly. Giving space when he needs it. Building him up privately and publicly. Supporting his goals, even if others say, what is he doing? Is he really building an ark? Sharing her world. She brings him into her circle. She asks how he's actually doing and how he actually is feeling. Respects his opinion and decisions. She doesn't try to control everything and values his judgment and his opinion. Creating peaceful moments. Taking care of things when he can't. Physical intimacy with intention. She doesn't just do it. Because she knows that guys want to be wanted as well. Pride in his wins. She celebrates him, even the small little victories, like he was able to get the nail out of the wood. And she doesn't know how exactly he did it, but she was so happy when he did it. Including him in her future, and again, she uses we terms and lets him know that she does want him around. Loving him at his worst. She sees his flaws, but still treats him with kindness and care. Not just when things are easy. Anyhow, y'all. This is You're Probably Right, and I think I am. I'm MCM signing off. Till next time. Take care. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere.